Tales of Estolia by Sashina Kerfman. Volume 1. The Promise of Zacharias. Part 7. Catalyst of Change. Chapter 2. Sanctuary.
Societal ills permeating the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century were just one symptom of the sickness plaguing our planet during the years leading up to the project. The study of history became much more popular as scholars and armchair experts tried to trace the event or events that precipitated our crisis. Cause and effect, correlation, and unintended consequences became some of the most popular topics to be discussed both in educational settings and in the very social media network that many considered the root cause of the most heinous of crimes committed in the waning years of my tenure as keeper, and during the first dozen or so years of Nico's. Lazarus Ezekiel Zacharian, Capitulo 88.
20 minutes later, Carris limped down the drive towards Reardon Cormack's house, her only other employer. She had been hired by a firm to tend his home, stay there, feed the animals, and ride the one horse on the extensive private grounds and public lands adjoining Reardon's property. That job ended when the temp agency told her that Reardon and his wife were returning from an extended out-of-town trip. She was halfway down Reardon's drive when reaction set in and she felt the entire world fade in and out. She fell to her knees and was sick, once, twice, 3 times until her stomach was empty and the black void surrounding her began to take on familiar shapes again. When she tried to rise, her legs were weak. She subsided onto the drive once more to wait for her strength to return. The squeal of brakes needing attention broke into her personal misery. A car was turning into the drive. For a moment, she panicked. She would be virtually invisible in her absurd cleaning outfit. Too wobbly to rise, she did the next best thing and crawled out of the way, hoping the driver would not crush her. The car was driven so slowly, tentatively almost, that the driver had plenty of time to see her and stop. She heard the application of a parking brake, and then a car door opening and closing.
"Are you okay? Have you been in an accident?"
Gentle feminine arms came down around her shoulders, and with the woman's support, Carris was able to get to her feet. Taking a deep breath helped Carris feel more stable, though she was conscious of the unpleasant smell of vomit.
"I just had an altercation with my employer."
The woman looked incredulous.
"You have? Not Reardon, of course. He is taking a long weekend in San Francisco. But if not him, could you be speaking of Brant or Natasha Kinsey?"
In as few words as possible, she summarized what happened, finishing with,
"I'm Kara Smith."
"Melody Cormack,"
the beautiful woman said.
"Can I take you somewhere?"
The potential repercussions of fleeing on foot suddenly struck her. Trying to keep the shiver of fear out of her voice, she said,
"I left my car at the Kinsey house. I'm afraid Brant Kinsey will have my car towed and throw out my belongings. I won't have anything at all if he does that."
"I think not,"
Melody said, spoken with her accent. It sounded humorous. Carris sensed that this woman was very tenacious, given a motive. She pulled a cell phone out of her purse and dialed a number.
"Brant, Melody Cormack here. I understand my cousin Carris has been working for you. It appears she left her car at your home. You may drop it off at Reardon's if you like."
"That fucking bitch, I'm going to tow her car to the nearest junkyard and have it crushed."
Carris could hear what sounded like angry shouting. Melody waited for him to quiet down before saying softly,
"I understand she could bear testimony against you. While you can afford a top lawyer, keep in mind that Reardon will represent her, and nobody is better than he is, especially when family is involved."
Carris listened in awe to the way Melody dealt with Brant's blustering, bullying behavior.
"I believe she is owed her wages, plus the extra 2 weeks for early termination of her contract, and a bonus of a similar amount for her trouble and medical expenses."
"Are you fucking nuts? I'm not giving her a goddamn cent."
More vociferous words she could not understand spluttered over the line. When he came to a halt, Melody said,
"I misspoke. 4 times what she is owed for 2 weeks will be enough. Her face is cut up, she will need a plastic surgeon."
A smile played about her lips during the silence before she added,
In cash, Brant in her purse and her current purse brought to Reardon's within the hour.
After she hung up on Brant, Melody drove the rest of the way to the isolated house. For Caris, it felt like she was coming home, to the only home she had known since her mother died. The time she spent watching this house had given her the first taste of freedom she had in months. Melody led Caris to the kitchen and then looked carefully at her face.
I can stitch that up for you,
she offered.
Are you a doctor?
Caris asked.
My 3 sisters and I all chose to become doctors. I studied plastic surgery, and faces are my specialty. If you would prefer, I can take you to your own doctor.
I haven't any health insurance.
Caris admitted. She had been promised that upon successful completion of 3 months of work for the Kinsey family, she would receive health care benefits, but that would not happen now. In 8 months, she broke off that line of thinking. It was unprofitable.
Then you are in luck,
Melody said. Caris closed her eyes, trying to ignore how grim her situation was. She should have known that the simple would become complex. In 8 months, Sloane would have no power over her, but if she could not remain hidden and inaccessible until then, his power over her would be complete and irrevocable. An hour later, Caris looked at her face in the mirror. It was numb from the local anesthetic. She had a black eye from running into the tree during her flight. The cut itself was not very large, a small right-angled tear from the ring on Brant's pinky finger. It would scar, but she did not think it would be notable. They heard a ring at the door and Melody went to answer with the droll comment tossed over her shoulder.
That will be Brant with your car. I will not invite him in.